You are on the Frenzy feed.
The Professor Frenzy Show!
Professor Frenzy, it's a show. Professor Frenzy Show. Professor Frenzy, it's a show. Professor Frenzy Show.
Hello, welcome to the Professor Frenzy Show, episode 382. My name is Jerry.
And I'm Chris.
And we are your hosts.
On the Professor Frenzy Show, we are going to try to spotlight some smaller publishers' comics that we think deserve some attention. We are going to rate or score comics. We aren't really even going to be reviewing comics. We're just going to talk about some that we think people should consider reading.
So, Chris, did you read any good comics this week?
Well, yes, Professor. As a matter of fact, I sure did. Prof, a whole plethora of books we need to cover. So let's dive right in. We have a couple of mutual reads. We'll start off with Universal Monsters, The Invisible Man. This is the third issue from Image Comics, written by James Tynion IV. Thank you, Professor Allen. Art by Dani and Brad Simpson. Prof, I'll let you take the floor. Do what you do best, and I'll take a step back, describe the contents, and then we will pick it apart.
All right. So Jack has rented rooms to carry on his experiments in peace. He's worried that his lab partner, Kemp, will steal his work. He's fine-tuning his invisibility formula on different animals, and it's getting better and better and more predictable. His boss, Dr. Cranley, is worried about all the monocaine Jack is using. He needs to see results before he'll approve any more of that dangerous chemical, and he's got 2 months to show results. Jack finds a homeless kid, Tommy, on the street and brings him back to the lab. He chains Tommy to a bed and gives him the serum. Tommy looks like he has no skin, showing his musculature underneath. I guess he's going to need another shot, so he gives him another shot. But now Tommy's a skeleton. The third shot, that'll do the trick, and Tommy finally disappears. Jack goes out and comes back to the lab, or his fake lab, and somehow Tommy has gotten out of his chains and hits him from behind with a mirror. The kid puts on Jack's invisibility disguise. Jack's been wandering around town, kind of dressed up in case he ever went invisible. So the kid puts on this invisibility cloak and leaves him unconscious. Dun, dun, dun. Oh boy, I like how this book is moving. So there are a few time jumps that are a little disconcerting in this story, but nothing serious. I'm definitely glad to see Jack being more and more devious about his work. And I like how last time there was a cat that went invisible and was carrying around a fish, and people were saying, oh, there was a fish just going down an alleyway. I wonder what this Tommy kid is going to get up to now that he's invisible. We'll see how that goes. I'm really looking forward to finding out. The art here is super creepy. It has kind of an Andrea Sorrentino vibe to me. There's lots of dark, mysterious alleyways and shadowy laboratories. This is really great stuff. It feels like a real gothic horror story, which is perfect for The Invisible Man. Chris, what did you think about The Invisible Man, number 3?
Thanks, Prof. I'm thinking of where to start. I'll start with some of the usual trappings that we've had in the first issue, second issue, and here the third issue. I like the double entendres and the sort of clever dialogue that we have with a lot of characters with respect to invisibility. Oh, I don't see you. Oh, you're in the crowd and you're blending in, but they're little just tiptoe tap dances around things or sentences or phrases that can be led to think of invisibility that are just sprinkled throughout all of these 3 issues, and I really, really am down for it. We also have, in the first 3 issues, these little thought asides that are inserted in the panels where we get to see Jack's thoughts played out, but he's doing mean things to people. But here it really, really takes a much, much darker turn when Flora is asking Jack where he is, and now Jack is thinking of actually doing something really nasty to Flora. He's thinking of murdering her, and we don't see this dark side of Jack before. We have, but not to this extent. Let me put it that way, where he's actually killing people. And not just killing people. In the first couple of issues, we see that he's doing experiments just merely on animals, as if that's not bad enough. But now he's doing it on humans. And in the opening 3 pages, we see that he's abducted a street worker for who knows what, and we don't see her ever appearing again. And now he's resorted to essentially, quote unquote, kidnapping a boy and subjecting him to the experiments for the sake of quote unquote science. This is decidedly taken a dark turn, and I have been clamoring for the quote invisible man to appear, but we get one, but it's not who I suspected, so I have to applaud the creative team for giving us that. Prof, you mentioned the artwork. To me, it kind of reminds me, as previously stated, we talked about issues 1 and 2. I get the Tim Sale vibe. I don't want to say that in a pejorative way, and nor do I want to say that the creative team is basically swiping like Danny's doing it. This is its own unique take, and I really dig it. Wow, I said a lot of dark things, but I don't want that to be interpreted as a negative book. It gave me some uneasy feels as I was reading this, because I think our central character, Jack, is really taking the dark turns. And now his superiors are kind of wanting him to say, hey, we're providing you with some questionable drugs for you to do your thing here with your experiments. Now we need to see what your proof is. And now he's like stalling for time. Things are eventually going to come into a head on so many levels, and I can't wait to see this goes. This, I have to say, was maybe the darkest of the issues so far, but maybe the most engaging and the most interesting for what it's worth. So yeah, I am totally invested, and I'm totally on board with this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm having fun now.
Now, I think it was Macrox who stated, too, he caught something early on that I didn't catch, was with respect to the invisibility, with respect to the eyes. It is slightly addressed here, and I have to applaud Macrox because the eyes were the last to go. Yep. And I got to say, Macrox called it, so I want to give him a shout-out with respect to that.
The eyes have it.
Yes, indeed. Anything else, my friend?
No, that's it.
Our thoughts and impressions on Universal Monsters The Invisible Man, Issue 3 from Image Comics, priced at $4.99, and a book for a teen-plus audience.
Terrific.
Next up, Prof and I both looked at Maria Lovett's Artificial, number 2 from Image Comics, written and art by Maria Lovett. Prof, things get a little bit of a more interesting slant adult turn here. I will take a step back, let you carefully describe it, and then I'll join you.
All right. So Clara has arranged to have a very handsome android boyfriend. We saw this being teased in the last issue, and here we go. Here's this very handsome boyfriend. And they have some sexy time together, and she activates role play mode on the android, and they have a really naughty good time together. So there's some foreshadowing that there is a shutdown code for this android, which is, it seems on the one hand to be soothing, but, you realize as a reader, she's going to need this. So I wonder, it's a kind of an uh-oh for the future. Anyway, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Mateo, is jealous of this android. And, Mateo sees them together and she says, no, he's only an android. But the android seems to be getting confused about being in role play mode and kind of thinks that this is part of the role play. I think this is going to get us in a lot of trouble moving forward. So this book is definitely not for the kiddies. There's a lot of sex and a lot of nudity. But it is a very interesting and I think timely story about people getting caught up in AI and creating false realities. And, with all the AI bots and the chat bots and the, the fake chat girlfriends that, supposedly you can get online, I think this is a very timely story. And I think poor Mateo is going to be in for a lot of trouble based on his girlfriend's, recent interests. So I am really the first issue I read and I thought, oh yeah, this is interesting and timely, but now I'm starting to see that there's real trouble coming. So I'm looking forward to it. Chris, what did you think of Maria Lovett's Artificial number 2?
Thanks, Prof. I want to applaud Lovett because I think she's such an effective storyteller with this. There are so many panels here without word balloons, but still convey a lot of the story. And I really say, what a feel for this. This was a quick read, but I think I gathered as so much with this and some of the other books I read over the past couple of weeks that she says so much with just the visual. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Marie Lovett proves it here. Prof, it's a second issue, so I feel obligated to say if this had second issue or itis or not. I have to address that. No second issue itis for me here. We're in a limited series. We're going on from one place to the other. I thought it was a little suspect, though, when we got the other guy who's coming in on this, Mateo, and the poor guy is like trying to find out what's just happening here with Clara, and he just wants to know one way or the other where his relationship stands. I thought you left a scarf over here, let me bring it back. I thought that was a little bit of a cheesy kind of out, with how he's doing this, but it worked. But then she gets busted, and then she confesses that he's an android. But now we sort of get a dark turn here, because now the android's really, really mad, and it's like she can't shut him off. And where are we going with this? In the role play, she says she's isolated. I don't know if this is sort of like Arthurian legend, if that's sort of where Claire is going with this. I presume so. There's a lot of nice little romantic vibes here that she's giving us. And we have this jarring climax there where we just don't know if this AI has really shut itself off and where we're going here. Prof, you addressed it. This does show some contemporary parallels with being addicted to AI and where this could lead to. Very engaging, very timely book, and I really, really am enjoying it. Again, as you stated, Prof, this is not for the kids. This is not for the children. But boy, it certainly is an engrossing read, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
I agree.
This was Maria Llovet's Artificial number 204. It was from Image Comics. It was priced at $3.99 and a book for mature readers.
So, Chris, what other books did you read this past week's?
Thanks, Prof. I'm dying to get into this one because I'm not sure if it's been talked about or mentioned on other podcasts. Prof, I love me some UFO stories, conspiracies, what have you. Now, Dark Horse came out with Blue Book, which addressed some of the stuff, but now they've come out with Red Book. This was Red Book number 104 from Dark Horse Comics. It was written by James Tynion IV. Thank you, Professor Allen. Michael Avon Oeming also co-wrote it, and he provided the art. This was priced at $4.99. In this first issue, we start off with the advanced solicit going as follows. Russia, 1961. 9 students died tragically under the mysterious circumstances that will become to be known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. To this day, the true cause of their deaths remains unknown, although some theorize the blame lies with visitors from beyond the stars. New York Times bestselling and Eisner Award-winning co-creators of Something is Killing the Children, The Nice House on the Lake, The Department of Truth and Powers, follow up their acclaimed work on Blue Book with an all-new volume of, quote, true tales capturing the strange world of alien encounters, this time focusing on the uncanny extraterrestrial stories of Russia and China. Each issue will feature, quote, true weird backup stories by guest creators. Read Blue Book for supernatural uniqueness, but stay for the enjoyable exploration of humanity per AIPT. Wow. My thoughts and impressions, Robin, the mascot of our show, and I were really intrigued with the story, and we both knew of it before this comic book even came out. We are both mesmerized and fascinated with this story and the possible theories. Was it a Yeti? Was it a mysterious alien force? Was this some sort of botched covert military or botched covert spy exercise? What really did happen to these 9 victims in Russia? This issue also kind of dovetailed to some other conspiracy theories, one thing leading to another with extraterrestrial encounters. I don't necessarily want to go there and stay on point. The backup feature I thought was a little muddled with respect to clarity, but I did find it unique and engaging. But I was really, really fascinated with the Dyatlov Pass incident that happened in Russia. If that even slightly intrigues you, I would seek this issue out. It didn't seem to get a lot of love from what I've been hearing, but if you're into these true, quote, mystery stories, I highly recommend Red Book number 1 of 4 from Dark Horse Comics. And I didn't see an immediate rating on this, but I would probably say this is for a teen plus audience, and it was priced at $4.99.
Great.
And next up, I had Sleep number 6 from Image Comics, written and drawn by Zander Cannon, priced at $3.99 per the advanced solicit. When Jonathan Reason falls asleep, he becomes something terrible. With Tabitha's theory proving correct, she breathes a sigh of relief until Hip's actions precipitate an awful decision by John. End of quote, end of advanced solicit. Okay, John turns into a killing monster when he goes to sleep. Sequestering himself in a mine does not seem to help matters either. John walks around the town afterward and he sees the apparent destruction he caused. He runs into Hip the hippie, and apparently earlier, Tab had visible signs of physical abuse, and it possibly was at the hands of Tip, and that's what we think. So John confronts Hip knocks out John. John awakens, though, in a straitjacket, with Tab looking down on him through a window and holding up a piece of paper with the words that read "Y" on it, to be continued. Per my thoughts, this issue decidedly took a darker turn, and that is really saying something for this book. We get a, quote, "I didn't see it coming" moment here, and I have mixed feelings on where this book is going. When I first read this, I thought, wow, this is just going too dark, and I don't know if I like the direction it's going in. And then I thought, well, no, it's progressing and it's still carrying on with the narrative. So then I applaud it. So I like that we've got a title here that makes me think as a critical reader with the direction the story's going, and just liking it or not liking it, but really, really feeling invested in the characters and what's happening here. The artwork with the muted black and white and the subtle shades of gray really entice it, and it really, really makes it a notch above a quote-unquote standard black and white book. I am very, very intrigued with this. Despite my mixed feelings on this particular issue, I still am intrigued and engrossed, and I'm wondering what's going to happen to John. My thoughts and impressions on Sleep, number 6 from Image Comics, priced at $3.99, and a book for mature readers.
Terrific.
Next up, I had the Dick Tracy Halloween special from Mad Cave Studios, written by Alex Segura, Michael Moreci, Chantelle, Aimee, Osman, and art done by Cermak, priced at $6.99. Per the advance solicit, the ghouls and ghosts are out in the city, and so are some of Dick Tracy's deadliest rogues. Or are they? As Tracy, Pat, Sam, and Tess try to piece together the return of the city's most bloodthirsty killers, other Tracy baddies start to creep out from under the woodwork. But the heroes dig deeper into the twisty mystery and discover something new and perhaps more sinister, featuring the Mad Cave debut of one of the most iconic Dick Tracy characters ever, the Kid. End of quote in an advance solicit. Okay, in his story, the main story, someone is disguising himself as Dick Tracy villains and is eliminating other Tracy villains and soldiers in the crime's families. It's a new villain that Tess christens Mosaic. This is a failed stage actor and a theater critic at Tess's newspaper. In the backup story, Tess foils a criminal gang that dresses up as witches with the help of none other than another witch. Per my thoughts and impressions, these are a couple of nice Halloween-themed stories. In the first one, we get the introduction of the Kid, a.k.a. Junior, in this Dick Tracy comic book universe. I thought the second story was a bit harder to follow, but it sure was nice to see Tess being able to handle herself in a situation without Dick Tracy's help. My thoughts and impressions on Dick Tracy Halloween Special from Mad Cave Studios, priced at $6.99, and a book for a teen-plus audience.
Great.
And I also had The Adventures of Lumen N, number 2 of 4 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Robinson, art done by Phil Hester, priced at $4.99, per the advance solicit. The adventure truly begins when young Lumen now learns that she's the granddaughter of the legendary Captain Nemo. But what of her long-missing father, Nemo's son? To learn the answer to this disappearance, Lumen and Nemo must face heartbreak, along with the peril of an amazing and deadly steam-powered palace. All this as they uncover who's behind the current dangers, an evil mastermind intent on conquest. End of quote, end of advance solicit. Here in this issue, Nemo tells his granddaughter Lumen about her late father, and they look for Robur the Conqueror. But just who is that man at Robur's side? ? To be continued. I give a sigh here. Yes, the front half of this book, or even better still, the 2/3, do suffer from the dreaded second issue-itis as talking heads and exposition abound. So much so that Robinson's dialogue of world balloons nearly crop out Hester's artwork in a lot of the panels. I get it, as this is a limited series and Robertson is a bit restricted in the storytelling format. He has a big story, but I only can do it in 4 issues. I am willing to look the other way and give it a pass here. This is a story that is so rich and big in scope, and it did offer something not so much of a cliffhanger as just sort of presenting a puzzle, and I have to say I am down for it. And if you can still get in on the ground floor, I highly advise you do so. My thoughts and impressions on The Adventures of Lumen N, Number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, priced at $4.99. I didn't see an immediate rating on this, but I would probably say this is for a teen audience and above.
Terrific.
Next up, I had Exquisite Corpses, number 6 from Image Comics. Written by Tyler Boss with James Tynion IV. Thank you, Professor Allen. Art done by Gavin Fullerton with Michael Walsh, priced at $4.99. The advance solicit reads as follows. Trick or Treat has never had deadlier stakes as Craig and Jason unknowingly go door to door with this year's youngest killer, and a high score for Gamer Kid means a very bad night for everyone else. Multi-hyphenate talent Tyler Boss and breakout talent Gavin Fullerton join James Tynion IV and Michael Walsh for Exquisite Corpses' most gut-wrenching chapter yet, end of quote, in an advance solicit. Just as a reminder, this is the title where serial killers backed by the nation's wealthy fight it out, or rather kill it out, in a small town in Maine on a Halloween evening for control of the country and thus the world. This issue opens up with a much-needed update, at least for me, with the story exposition telling us, the reader, where serial killers were, are, and still in play, and where they are located in various parts of the town. Good news! Lady Carolina, my favorite, with some bias for Robin, the mascot of our show, is still alive and in the game. This issue, though, focuses on Massachusetts rep Gamer Kid and his killer drone Calvin, who is trick-or-treating with adult Craig and child Jason, as the latter two are unaware that there is a killer amongst them. Adult Craig is freaked out by what Gamer Kid says about gruesome kills and horror movies, and child Jason is oblivious when Gamer Kid kills the school's lunch lady and others, thinking that he's merely playing some type of computer game. Gamer Kid pulls the chain on Craig maybe one too many times as they go into a corn maze, as he kills a trio of kids only to meet his own violent demise himself by Rascal Randy. Wow. My thoughts and impressions. This really is a demented and messed up book with the violence. But that said, this is what you signed up for when you got on board and read this book. Yes, this is not for everyone. It's certainly not for the kids. But for Exquisite Corpses, this is just another day in the park. Really gruesome stuff. And it really kept up the usual tone and kept the book in check. My thoughts and impressions on Exquisite Corpses, number 6 from Image Comics, priced at $4.99. A book definitely for mature readers.
Great.
I also looked at Feral, number 17 from Image Comics, written by Tony Fleecs, art done by Trish Forstner and Tony Roriguez, priced at $3.99. Per the advance solicit, the battle for Pet City begins. Elsie and Lucky lead their crew against Mother Helena and her strange felines, with the winner taking control of the pet superstore. The only problem is, what was once a safe haven is now filled with the rabid bad kind, end of quote, into advance solicit. In this issue, when the doors of Pet City now open, wildcats and dogs have made bad things go to worse. Gigi and her kittens look for an escape, but find it next to impossible, with every path, entry, and exit blocked. It gets worse when the dictator cats and their hierarchy are killed and eaten by rabid dogs. Now who rules the roost? To be continued. Per my thoughts and impressions, I have to put a trigger alert out there. There is a lot of gory animal violence in this issue, so keep that in mind if you are sensitive towards animals and pets. The title Feral remains an engaging title for me, with solid artwork in the Bluth animation style and with cliffhanger after cliffhanger. As I said before, though, I just don't know when or where it will end. My thoughts and impressions on Feral number 17 from Image Comics, priced at $3.99, a book for mature readers. And real quick, just a nugget, I also looked at Murder Podcast issues number 1 and 2 from Ignition Press. This was priced at $4.99 each, written by Jeremy Hahn and art done by Mike Terrasano. The premise of this one, 5 women in a small town love true crime podcasts. One of them, though, gets to be herself a near murder victim because there's a podcast going around that triggers listeners to become violent and kill. Is this a work of a cult? To be continued. It's an intriguing read, and I am putting it out there for people that might like that. Murder Podcast is from Ignition Press, priced at $4.99, and for mature readers. Wow. Prof, I need to catch my breath. I will step back. Please tell me what other books you've read over the past few weeks.
All right. So first up, Barbaric, The Black Knight. It claims it's a one-shot from Vault Comics, written by Michael Moreci, with art by Guy Balbi, Fabi Marquez, and Jim Campbell. So Deadheart, Sarah, and Ka have finished defeating the evil elf king Molish and are drinking in a pub. Outside, there's a boy with a talking flail. Now, a flail is like a spiked metal ball on the end of a chain with a handle on the other side of the chain. So the ball has a face and talks, much like a barbarian Owen's axe. So the evil witch Dachshund has found the group and sends bad guys against them. And they get the flail and bring him with. Turns out Dachshund wants the flail, and of course the team doesn't want her to get it, so they should destroy it. So they bring the flail to a seer witch, but she freaks out when she sees the flail. It's of an ancient evil magic, and the only way to destroy it is to kill the Black Knight, who the flail was created for. They find an old man named Caliph, because they suspect he's what used to be this Black Knight, and they see if the flail recognizes him. And the flail freaks out when he speaks, and they go to kill him, figuring he's the Black Knight, but he's just old and Alzheimer-y. But Dachshund's baddies show up to stop him, and there is much fighting. The old man is freed and grabs the flail and conforms into the Black Knight, dun dun dun, and he's getting ready to kill our heroes. Dachshund shows up and poisons Sarah and leaves with the knight, and the rest of the gang get on a ship to bring Sarah to Soren to save her. So this book, at least it claims it's a one-shot. It says that on the back. But, it looks like we have a continuing story here somehow. So, and the story, as I was reading through it, this is an oversized book, it was getting a little overcomplicated. And I was like, how is this going to wrap up really quick? And the reality is the story doesn't really end. So it's more of a number one, which is fine. I love barbaric. I will keep reading this book. It doesn't matter. But I was just expecting the story to wrap up. And so the read was a little disconcerting. Also, it's been a long time since I've read a barbaric book, so it took me a little while to remember who is who, and oh yeah, that's her sister, and blah, 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 and what everyone was up to. But this issue has all the humor and action that I've come to expect from this series, even without Owen and Axe, and I enjoyed it very much. And I look forward to the second book in this one-shot. So that's Barbaric, the Black Knight, kind of number one. Next, I read Something is Killing the Children, or SIKTC, A Monster Hunter Walks into a Bar. Number one. This is, I think, too, is probably a one-shot. So this is collected from the little strips or the pages that was previously in, I think it was Hello Darkness. Now this is all put into a book, a really good book. So Erica goes into the Red Building pub in a small town. She passes by all the missing posters as she enters and sits at the bar. She gets a beer and chips from the bartender, who realizes she's a stranger in town. Good thing she wasn't a stranger in town 3 days ago. A bunch of kids were killed and the town's freaking out. People saw the killings, but no one can agree on what happened. And we get some of the stories about invisible monsters eating kids and the townspeople's reaction to it, as well as their outlandish theories. Even one of them thinks it's cannibals in the hills, and another thinks it's Martians, all kinds of stuff. And as he tells these stories, the bartender begins to realize that Erica knows more than she's telling. He lets her know that. And she tells him that children can see things most adults can't, but some people can and are able to help. She won't say any more, though, but the bartender has realized that she has stopped whatever has been killing these children and gives her half of his sandwich and thanks her. She says, "You don't even know what you're thanking me for." And he tells her that he does. I really love this issue. Nothing happens. Really, nothing happens. But it might be my favorite issue of anything in a long time. Erica, we know from reading all of these issues of Something is Killing the Children that Erica is a hero. She's terribly flawed and really disturbed, but she's a hero. But she can't tell people. They wouldn't understand, even people that she saves. But some people can just tell, and especially a bartender who's really kind of sensitive to the unsaid, words of troubled people. And getting this appreciation in this kind of wink way really was impactful for me. It made my heart go warm and weepy. Kind of this unappreciated savior gets appreciated. And this was really a terrific issue. I recommend it. And it's a standalone. If you know anything about Erica, you'll have no problem understanding this book. So that is SIKTC, A Monster Hunter Walks into a Bar, #1. Next up, a confusing one. Conan's Scourge of the Serpent, #2 from Titan Comics. Written by Jim Zub with art by Ivan Gill, Hal Canola, and Richard Starkings, and Tyler Smith. So this story is kind of broken up into 3 parts. One is in the Thurian Age with Brule and King Kull. Another is in the Hyborian Age with Conan, who's captured trying to steal the Zamorian goblet. And the third piece is in the Modern Age with occult investigator John Kerwin in Jim Gordon's house. And in all of these stories, there's Stygian magic that kind of links these eras together. So in the first, Conan is suspected of killing Callian Publico, master of the museum he broke into to get the goblet. The guards first think Conan killed him, but also he was strangled. And that's not how a Sumerian with a sword would kill somebody. Why would he strangle him? He'd cut him in half with his sword. Conan says he was hired to steal the goblet by Astrius Petanius, the nephew of the governor, but Astrius says that's a lie. So Conan's got to kill the guards. Brule and Kull are trying to get away from assassins after Kull, and they find a Stygian snake man. They kill him, but there are Stygian guards outside. Brule kind of tries to kill Kull, but Kull defeats him. But when he kills him, Brule turns into a snake. He was a Stygian shape-shifting imposter all along. Brule shows up and says, "Hey, that was not me, man." And then Jim Gordon's wife, Evelyn, starts talking weirdo trash. And then in all of these 3 eras, the magic word ka nama ka lajarama sound. And then Evelyn pulls a gun on her visitors. And what have Brule and Conan done now? Dun, dun, dun. All right, well, this story is a little complicated, maybe unnecessarily, but it's fun to try to decode with all the different time periods. The one that was most confusing was when Brule was impersonated by the Stygian. Like, where was he when Kull was fighting him? When did the impersonation happen? It seemed a little kind of forced, a little clumsy, but this is great Robert E. Howard stuff, and using a number of his characters to tell a single Stygian story is very cool. I would say due to the complexity and the kind of weight of telling this story, this one did have a bit of second issue-itis. I was a little scratching my head and flipping pages going backwards like, what did he say? Or who was that? And trying to detective out, certain things from the art. It was a little tricky, but I enjoyed the story nonetheless. And then I read Outlaw Showdown #1 from the EC imprint of Boom Studios, written by John Arcudi, Tony Moore, Ann Nocenti, Christopher Cantwell, with art by Sebastian Cabral, Tony Moore, Rika Renzi, Lee Lowridge, David Lapham, Nick Filardi, Dan McDade, Michael Eli, and a classic from Two-Fisted Tales #20 by Harvey Kurtzman and Jack Davis, which was from March-April 1952 EC Comics. All right, so the first story, Cool Water. A lawman is following some train robbers and comes across a Paiute village that these train robbers attacked. There's one survivor, a young boy, who points and says, Paknawat. He takes this kid along, and at night they get shot at by the robbers and are told to stop following them. All of them set off into the Chihuahua Desert low on water, and the lawman finds them at a lake, kind of swimming by the edge of the lake. The Paiute boy again says, Paknawat. And at night, the robbers get attacked by spirit monsters from the lake. Turns out that lake, Paknawat, was the place that Paiute parents drown their deformed and sick children who come back as monstrous spirits. A job well done. The next story, Fire in the Hole. There's an explosion in the Valentine Coal Company mine. Many miners are killed. Artie survived the blast, but he has kind of what appears to be PTSD from the accident, and he feels guilty that his friend Byron was killed, and he survived. Years go by, he gets old and pulls away emotionally from the town, but he used his payout from the accident to help the families of the men that died. But there's something that happened bad back in the mine. The mine owners wants to do more mining and asks Artie to run things. Artie remembers back to the day of the explosion, how he was hard on his men and his buddy Byron pushed back. But Artie pushed him down a mine shaft and killed him and caused the explosion to cover up his crime. Back in the present, Artie is about to start the new job, but is attacked and killed by the ghosts of the dead miners. Dun, dun, dun. I love that one. And then another one, The Cure. In 1880 California, Doc Boot is a traveling snake oil salesman. His miracle cures are basically poisons. They are no good. And he travels with a native boy he calls Little Goat. His last stop is the town of Red Dirt, California. The local Chinese immigrants know that a bad man has come to town. Doc Boot takes money from the town and gives a money-back guarantee on the medicine. The Red Dirt sheriff says Doc Boot can sell his stuff, but he's got to hang around till morning in case anyone wants their money back. And Boot agrees, but intends to sneak away in the night. One of his customers finds Boot and is angry that his wife is now sick from the medicine. They fight and Boot gets his tongue sliced. He has a forked tongue, get it? Boot gets away. But that night, in Boot's bedroll is a venomous snake that bites him. Little Goat gives him the cure-all medicine, which doesn't work. He is dead. The end. Story Pony Express, and there's a trigger alert for suicide here. In Missouri in 1860, a Pony Express rider, Matt Roundtree, brings a letter from a woman across the West to California. He fights off highwaymen, survives a native attack, and arrives in Sacramento. He delivers the letter to a man who tells him to take a message back and tell her what I've done. And then he shoots himself in the end. Turns out the letter he delivered was from the guy's wife saying that she's staying in Missouri with the kids. Ooh, nasty one. And then finally, we have a reprint, Colt Single Action Army Revolver. It's from April 1952, Two-Fisted Tales number 20. So this is, I won't go into too much detail. It's a classic Western tale of a Colt revolver that has 6 bullets in it and the 6 men that it killed. There's poker playing, there's angry guys, there's all kinds of bad behavior, and 6 men dead. These stories were all pretty good. The story about the mine was a little confusing jumping back and forth in time, but still a perfect EC gotcha. And for as little story as it was, the Pony Express tale was also interesting to me. It's very simple, very realistic. And the Colt Single Action Revolver story was, again, simple, not specifically supernatural, but exciting. And really, the Red Dirt story as well was very interesting. This is all a very good issue of, different horror tales, anthology horror done in the EC style. I also happen to like cowboy horror in small doses, and this was the perfect dose for me. So that was Outlaw Showdown number 1. And finally, just really quick, I read I Hate Fairyland number 45 from Image, written by Scotty Young with art by Jay Fosgett, Jean-Francois Bellieu, and Nate Picosa-Blambot. So Gert is looking for a boat to bring her out to the Forgotten Sea near Gupple Island, where there's a creature that comes out of the water and breathes so deep that it rips a hole in reality, which will open a portal so Gert can go home. She gets connected to the, quote, the sailor man, unquote. Spoiler alert, it's Popeye. The two, of course, fight, and they are caught alone on the boat by Olive Oil, who thinks Popeye is cheating on her again, and destroys them both. Good times. Yeah, this is violence, and it besmirches classic cartoon characters, but, I liked it anyway.
We'd like to get some thank yous and shout outs and just the niceness of our listeners out of the way. We'll start with the mascot of our show, Robin, at Robin031 Robin. Robin, thank you. I love you. And there's a nice kiss for you. Thank you for being the love of my life. We give a shout out to Two Sleeps at Two Sleeps Music. Two Sleeps puts on a concert twice a week. How might you find it? You may ask yourself, a free concert? Yes, a free concert. Type in Two Sleeps Music Twitch TV, Sunday afternoons at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. You get a link to Twitch. Then once there, sign up, get involved in an interactive chat, and a link to well over 200 songs that you may select for Two Sleeps to play. He's a talented musician, harmonicist, and just a master at what he does. Music puts a smile on my face, and it really, really elevates my mood. And I cannot thank him enough for the support he gives us on our show. Now, what music might you hear? You might hear some Foo Fighters. You might hear some Tom Petty. You might hear some Beatles. You might hear some Stray Cats. Oh, how about Commander Cody? How about some Jerry Reed? How about some Johnny Cash? How about some Monkees? A whole wide plethora of songs you can hear from Two Sleeps. Every now and then, Two Sleeps will play a song that I'm not familiar with, but the range really, really is fantastic, and he covers a lot of bases. Concerts last typically at least an hour. Two Sleeps wants to cover all the requests that come his way. It's a fine, fine show. I want to give a plug to Kara, a.k.a. Karasaurus Rex, who behind the scenes was doing some fantastic stuff. Most recently, we had the month of October where she was called upon to do some duets with the Monster Mash, and she did an awesome job with those. Good stuff. I want to make sure I give Kara a shout out as well because she's doing a lot of things behind the scenes to get the show off the ground. The other concert is Tuesday evenings at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central, and don't forget a very inexpensive Patreon that you can get involved with for some original free content there. Well, you pay $1, but I mean, you get your money's worth, so I want to make sure I want to get that there. Hey, $1 isn't that much. Come on, guys. $1. Just $1. It's just $1. Yeah, that'd be good. Just $1. Come on. And I want to give a plug to our friend Randy at Randy Landers 1 over on Twitter. Frumpy sketch artist on Blue Sky. Randy has 2 coloring books out available that you can get on the Amazon platform. Please check those out. And Randy also does a podcast called Soundtrack Alley. That's where Randy looks to see how music enhances a film. Please check it out. And along with the film trivia that Randy provides, it makes me want to go seek out the film again and watch it with a more critical lens. The things that Randy pointed out, along with the background of the film and the music that was added. Randy, thank you so much for that. Hey, we got some comments. We'll start with our friend Cat Victory, who said, why would Professor make a great fence builder? Because he always keeps you posted. Nice. Learn about the changes to our podcast, join the prof and myself. Thank you so much. As we looked at a great Twilight Zone episode. Thank you, Cat Victory. Cat Victory also said when we covered the episode where we looked at Astro Monster, this was a new venture for ourselves, is not only big, but monstrous. It's got heroes and zeros, and my favorite realtor, Godzilla, is flipping plenty of houses. See what was done there? I really got to get that. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's really, really great. This is a podcast that will have you dancing in the street. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate that. And also, thank you for the link about Dirk Benedict. We appreciate that. Dirk was great at playing the coolest guy in the room. Sort of a blonde Burt Reynolds. And I can see that. Absolutely. Yeah. He was really, really great. His face, really, really great. And Battlestar Galactica, really good stuff there. Thank you so much, Cat Victory. Sure. Also heard from our friend Chris Hamby. Appreciate that. Also, The Gringo, Billy D, Magazines and Monsters feed. Raise my glass to you, Billy D. Thank you for the output you did for the month of October, not only covering classic horror films, Bronze Age horror comics, and still finding time to do one of my favorites, The Brave and the Bob, with a huge output. And I cannot thank you enough for giving me something to listen to. It was a lot of content there. Billy D, thank you so much. Please check out the Magazines and Monsters feed for all of the marvelous content that Billy D put out there. The Rad Adventures Network, those are our friends Darren and Ruth with a huge plethora of podcasts. Thank you so much. Chris L. Doyle, we also heard from Go for No. Thank you very, very much. Magazines and Monsters, I want to give another plug to Billy D. Clinton, our friend, does a podcast called Coffee and Comics. In that podcast, Clinton will look at a comic in about the time it takes to down a cup of coffee. Occasionally, Clinton will have on a guest and ask some good questions. When time permits, Clinton also does the Days of High Adventure podcast, looking at sword and sorcery comics. Fan Film Fridays, that one you can find over at the Longbox Crusade feed, where Clinton and a guest will look at a fan film, typically on YouTube. Longbox Crusade feed, though, hey, stick around. Once you're there, you're going to get a whole treasure trove of some awesome podcasts with a lot of great and fun people. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Hour, that's with John and Lane, respectively. Thank you so much, Clinton. And it's our friend Bill Beer, who does the Batpod, looking at mostly current, but occasional back issues of Batman as well. Bill's been a recent guest on many a show as well, so I'm glad I got the plug in for Bill. If I overlooked you, I have to sincerely apologize because I really hate to miss someone. If I did, though, please let me know at BTO and Batbooks, or better still, to cover all the bases, let the professor himself know at Professor Frenzy. We'll correct the oversight on our next show. Listeners, thanks a million. We really had a lot of fun talking to you today, and please keep listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Professor Frenzy Show. You can find our podcast if you do an iTunes search for the Professor Frenzy Show. You can listen to the show on Twitter and find me on Twitter at Professor Frenzy and Chris at BTO and Batbooks.
Hey, we're on Facebook over the Professor Frenzy Show page. We're on Instagram at Professor Frenzy. We're now also on Amazon Music, and we are now also on YouTube. Just visit youtube.com/Professor Frenzy, all one word. We are now also on TikTok, so go to Professor Frenzy 2 to see our videos.
If you have an Android phone, the Professor Frenzy Show is part of the free network. Just swipe right on your homepage and look in the art section of the podcast lists. Whatever device you use, you can subscribe to our podcast feed by doing an iTunes search for Professor Frenzy.
Thank you for listening to the Professor Frenzy Show. Let us know on Twitter what you think about our show, and please help us get the word out to people that might like these kinds of comics.
Thanks to everyone for listening. We look forward to chatting more about comics next week. And please remember, pick up your pull.
Professor Frenzy. Professor Frenzy.
All original content of the Professor Frenzy Show is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported License.
Professor Frenzy.
You are on the Frenzy Feed.